Hello, pretty lady. My name is Soumya Naruna, and I'm the founder of Clothing with a Cause. And thank you so much for shopping with Quack. So, let's start off with your measurement. What you will learn in this video is how to measure yourself so the next time you get a customized outfit, you get the best. So, ready? So, what we're going to first do is we're going to capture your vertical measurements or your lengthwise measurements. Your shoulder seam is the line between your neck point and your shoulder point. Find the midpoint and place the starting of your measuring tape right there. So the bust length is at the level of your apex point of the bust. So the apex point is nothing but the highest point of the bust. Can you see the zoom version there? Right, that is the apex point. So the measurement from the midpoint to the apex point is the bust length. So there you go, you get your first measurement. Coming to the underbust length. So place the tape over again at the midpoint, pass it through the apex point and end it right below your bust. This is your underbust level. So your underbust level is just below the bust. So that's your underbust length. Now what we're going to do next is we're going to capture the waist length. So the waist length starts over again at the midpoint, passes through the apex point, and ends at the most narrow part of your body. So you know what? The waist is your most narrow part of the body. So your waist length could also be the point where your yoke ends, where most of the dresses have a cut in between and then you have the skirt attached. So even that point could be your waist length. Okay, great. So time to capture your full length. Full length is nothing but the length of the dress. How long or short do you want your dress to be? So your full length could be up till your knee, or it could be above your knee, it could be 3/4, or it could be floor length. So while measuring your full length, go back to the midpoint, keep the tape there, pass through the apex point, and measure up till the length that you want. Time to capture your back length. So your back length starts from your midpoint and goes up till the point where there's a ditch in your back. If you see in the mid of your spine, there's a ditch. At that level is where your back length ends. So take the tape, keep it on the midpoint and measure it up till the back level. Now coming to your hip length. So your hip length ends at the highest point of your buns. So start again with the midpoint and leave the tape loose, and at the level at which you have the highest point of your buns is your hip level. So mark that point and that is your hip length. There you have all your vertical measurements. Great, you're doing good up till now, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to move to the next segment of horizontal measurements. The first in this case would be your shoulders. So what you're going to do is you got to keep the tape on one shoulder point and move it till it reaches the other shoulder point. So the way you defined your shoulder point is that your shoulder point is perpendicular to your armhole ditch. So it is right above your armhole ditch. There you have a shoulder point. Next we'd come to the circumference measurement, that is your chest measurement. And in your chest measurement, keep the tape straight behind the back of the person being measured and ensure the tape is tucked into the armhole ditch of the person, and then measure the circumference. Some key points to be remembered are that the tape, first of all, should be straight behind the back. The tape should be in line with the armhole ditch. Do not include your finger measurement in the circumference measurements. So next, coming to the bust circumference. So the bust circumference is also to be done in a similar way, but ensure that the level maintained is placed or is passing through the apex points. So that way your bust measurements are recorded. And remember, the same rules apply. Do not include your finger measurements, do not include your finger in the circumference, and keep the tape straight. And very important, it should pass through the apex points. The next thing to do is measure the waist circumference. So the waist circumference is measured by putting the tape around the most narrow part of your body. As I mentioned earlier, it would be at the level at which your waist length is. So that's how you get the waist measurements, and be clear and follow the key points. Do not include your finger in the circumference and measure it around the narrowest part of your body. And then you have the hip circumference. So the hip circumference is to be measured at the hip level. And the key points to be remembered here is that the tape should pass through the highest point of your buns. So ensure that is being done. And finally, you also have your knee circumference. So, your knee circumference is required in cases of dresses where you wear peg skirts or which narrow down to the knee. So, that would be at the knee level. And once again, do not include your finger while in the do not include your finger in the circumference while measuring. Great, so we've got all the circumference measurements, and the next thing we'll come to is your sleeve measurements. So before we move on to the sleeve measurements, you got to measure your armhole and your arm round. So while measuring your armhole, raise your hand, put the tape parallel to the floor, and lock it in your armhole ditch, and then measure the armhole. And then measure the armhole. So the armhole is measured at the shoulder point. And then coming to the arm round, keep the arm in the same position with the tape locked in the ditch, and measure the highest point of your arm, which is also called the bicep level. So this is the arm round. And ensure these measurements are taken clearly and precisely. They make a huge difference in fitting. And finally, you have your sleeve lengths. So sleeve lengths vary. So sleeve could be half sleeves, it could be quarter sleeves, it could be 3/4, or it could be full length. Measure the so while taking your sleeve length measurement, you have to place your tape at the shoulder point and place it at the desired length. And when it is placed at the desired length, at that level, you will have to measure the sleeve circumference. So the sleeve circumference is basically the round or the sleeve opening. And that's it, you're done. And you did a great job. Thank you for watching the video. And happy measuring yourself. Um, and you could also visit the nearest boutique in case you do not have a measuring tape or you do not have help measuring yourself. Um, that's it from my side, and I'm looking forward to designing your special dress.